Donald Trump endorsed Eric in the Republican primary for a Senate seat in Missouri. Now, he writes in a statement, "I trust the great people of Missouri on this one to make up their own minds, much as they did when they gave me landslide victories in the 2016 and 2020 elections. And I am therefore proud to announce that Eric has my complete and total endorsement." Eric, huh? That'd be great if there were only one Eric running in the Republican primary for that Senate seat in Missouri. There are two Erics running for that seat, namely Eric Greitens, who had to resign from his post as governor after allegations came out indicating that he was abusive to his ex-wife. He took it as an endorsement of his campaign and said, "I'm honored to receive President Trump's endorsement. From the beginning, I've been the true MAGA champion fighting against the rhino establishment backing Schmitt." And he's referring to Eric Schmitt, who's running against him in the Republican primary for this seat. President Trump said it best when he characterized Schmitt's campaign as great dishonesty in politics. Now, Eric Schmitt also took it as an endorsement for his campaign, writing via Twitter, "Endorsement, President Trump. I'm grateful for President Trump's endorsement. As the only America First candidate who has actually fought for election integrity, border security, and against the left's indoctrination of our kids, I'll take the fight to the Senate to save America." Now, let me be clear about something. Both these candidates are trash, okay? The people of Missouri are losing, regardless of which one of these goons ends up winning the primary race, and God forbid one of them ends up winning the Senate seat, which, by the way, to be fair, has been held by a Republican since 1987. So it's not looking good for Democrats in Missouri. But nonetheless, Greitens even claimed that he had a call with Trump to thank him for the endorsement. He said, "I just had a great phone call with President Trump. I thanked him for his support. Together we will MAGA and save America." Okay, great. Except Greitens was likely speaking of the Trump call described by Politico, where the former president reportedly called Greitens with the news of his endorsement. Trump made a similar call though to Eric Schmitt, but didn't tell either Eric he was also endorsing the other. No, this guy, like Trump is a chaos agent, and usually we're the ones who lose as a result of that. But in this case, chaos agent all the way. I mean, this is hilarious. This is such a fun story. I don't know what the outcome of all of this will be. I think that Trump genuinely wants to endorse Greitens. That's my take on it. But he has been discouraged from being vociferous about his support for Greitens. What's your take, Dr. Ritchie?
Well, as you said, both Erics are garbage, okay? But look at the mind of Trump here, because this gives you an indication of his thinking and what he thinks about others. He literally could not make up his mind because of cronies who are supporting both of these Erics. They came to Trump and said, "No, you gotta support this Eric." He goes, "No, you gotta support this Eric." He says, he literally asked, "Well, do they spell their first name the same way?" That was actually a question that Trump posed to his team. They said, "Oh, no, they both spell it E-R-I-C." And so Trump comes up with a great idea because he thinks the people that follow him are children, and he does not believe in their intellectual prowess. He says, "I'm just going to say, I endorse Eric." And then he proceeds to call both Erics and gives them the same lie, because he believes that they are children too, and simply play things in Trump world. So while we don't agree politically with these individuals, they are adults. And at some point you should engage, especially with the former president of the United States, as an adult. Speak to me man to man. If you're going to endorse the other guy, don't call me telling me you're going to endorse me and keep me in the dark. So they literally had to figure this out because of them sending out messages about the endorsement. And at the center of this chaos, the chaos king, Donald Trump himself, revealing not only his own psychology, but revealing what he thinks about those who follow him in the conservative party.
He just doesn't really care about anything or anyone. The only thing Donald Trump cares about is Donald Trump, and that's it, right? And so he has been urged by some Senate Republicans to avoid endorsing Greitens, who, by the way, came out with a pretty terrible, violent political ad, which we talked about previously on TYT. I want to remind you of what that ad is and how it promotes violence.
I'm Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice. Join the MAGA crew, get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
Okay, can we just quickly address the fact that you have grown men publicly filleting a former president for political brownie points, and then at the same time presenting themselves as tough guys? Yeah. Like, holding a weapon is not going to dispel the notion that at the end of the day, you're a little bitch for Donald Trump.
Right.
Let's call a spade a spade. That's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, 100. And Greitens' friend, best friend for many years, literally did an intervention video and said, listen, man, I know you don't believe in the big lie. We've talked about it. I know what you're doing, and it's hurting you and it's hurting this state. You have lost all credibility. I mean, he went on and on about how he supported Greitens when he ran for governor, how his mother took out a loan just to give him, I think, $2,000 at one point. And this friend did a real intervention video, but naturally, Greitens has not responded to it. And these individuals, as I have said before, are part of a cult. They have volunteered to become part of this Trump cult.
And look, at the end of the day, it shows you what the priorities are for these candidates. It's not to serve the people of the state. It's not to better the country. It's not about representation or serving as a public servant at all. It's all about doing whatever it takes, including public humiliation, to accumulate power for what? For themselves, for their narcissistic fantasies, possibly to enrich themselves while they enjoy those positions of power, something that we talk about all the time on this show. And it takes place on both sides quite a bit, trading on insider information that they get through briefings, information that the general public is not privy to. We see these issues everywhere. The system incentivizes the worst people to run for public office because the system demonstrates that if you manage to be rewarded or if you're managed to get into that position of power, you can abuse it all you want for personal gain without any consequences. And I think that is at the heart of the problem. Trump being a chaos agent, all of that, sure, it's a problem. But what is at the root of this issue? And it's the fact that, again, the system incentivizes self-interested people who just want to enrich themselves to run. And that's the reason why they have no problem humiliating themselves, as Greitens did in that ad, by the way, in order to accumulate that power. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it rips up good people.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to our final story of the first hour, because I love this so much. And by the way, before we get into it, let me just note that Dr. Rashad Ritchie debated Charlie Kirk, and that video is available on YouTube. You should watch it. It was marvelous. Really well done, Dr. Ritchie.
Thank you.